Hey guys, I told you that you would be seeing my pretty face on here because we're going to be doing a lot more online training. And so I am videotaping some of the information that you would have to be listening to if you were sitting in our meetings, and we'll be going over those or that information, and we'll be taking a look at it. So this is an experiment because I'm seeing if it's possible either on Messenger, which I hope it's not Messenger, I hope it's on Slack, but on Slack that we could take information and place it directly on there so that we could get a large majority, in fact, most of our training done online. Now, what will happen is that we will have some sort of lecture over some information, and then we'll have a sign-in sheet left downstairs covering the number of minutes that we're giving for that training. And then we also will be probably having a few worksheets that we'll have to do from time to time. And all of that is just necessary to that if you are involved in any kind of training that to show that actually training has taken place. So I don't claim to be, even with a degree in counseling and being a licensed professional counselor, to be any kind of an expert in that field, because that field is newer to me, at least in the professional sense, although I counseled for years as a pastor in substance abuse counseling. But in training, I've had extensive experience. So when we talk about training, in order for training to actually have happened or take place, training has to be something where there's a certain amount of interaction going on. Now, because of COVID, a lot of stuff is being done online, even in areas like schools and stuff where that kind of training in the past would have been something they just would even have considered. So we're going to be moving into that just because it's almost impossible for all staff to get together for staff meetings, although Mr. Lenny and Miss Nikki will probably have times where they're going to require staff meetings just because we really do need to get together and talk over some stuff. But we'll do our best to make sure that the majority of the training can be done online. Now, I will go through some material. In fact, I'm just going to talk about that. If you weren't in the staff meeting this morning, some material that we need to go over a little bit so that we can just all be on the same page of the playbook. So some things that we talked about is that, and I'm going to miss some of the stuff, and actually I think some of it needs to be written down in some form and placed online. And so I'll try to have somebody help me do that so that hopefully we won't forget anything. So the first thing is that I and Lenny and Nikki and I think are pretty. There's some issues where the staff have to basically we just got to do something by policy, or the administration is just making some decision and it has to be done that way. But when it comes to the management of the kids, I know Lenny and I and Nikki agree on this, that you guys know how to help them make good decisions and how to manage them. So we want a lot of the decisions to come from you. In fact, in the last year, I've learned a ton from you guys just on how to manage them and manage what they're up to and what they're doing. So one of the decisions that was made is that we're basically, in a sense, going to have assigned seats in the van. But what we're going to do is we're going to let the kids know that seating is totally up to the staff member on duty at that moment. So that if a staff member wants to take a child who's being extra cantankerous, stick them in the front seat, then that's exactly what they'll end up doing. So first thing is that staff will be doing that. All right, so where kids are sitting in the van is totally up to staff. And in order to kind of keep them from trying to lock us down on something and then using that as a reason to be contentious, we're just going to let them know that so that they're not gaming anyone. They sit where staff say to sit in the van, whatever staff decide. All right, and we'll make other decisions on our own privately without them knowing sort of what's going on. All right, so that's an issue there when it comes to uh, kind of controlling them in the van. Now, another thing that we talked about was, and by the way, those of you who are in the meeting, if I say something wrong or whatever, let me know. So another issue that we talked about was that it is best for sanctions to be done on the shift that they were given on. So if somebody starts cussing or something, you're going to send them to your room. We agreed that we're going to go straight to the room as soon as possible. Now, obviously, if we're out and about, then that can happen. If it has to carry over into the next shift, we agreed that whenever possible, what we would do is the staff member that gave the sanction, the evening shift staff member, and the youth would meet right before the change of shift so that the youth knows that they have that sanction in the evening, and they can't say that we did not give everybody, everybody knows what everybody else said to everyone else, which will also kind of stop some complaining and gaming they're doing on some staff members to try to tell them that they don't have a sanction going on or something along those lines. So that was another issue we kind of dealt with as far as the practice of some things that were going on during the day. Now, staff also said that they were really liking the cart. And if I understand it correctly, when it comes to meal times, it seems to work well to put all the food on the cart, wheel it all in the dining room, give out all the food in the dining room, and then wheel it back in so that staff don't even have to go back to the kitchen. Now, don't know that any direct kind of commands were made off of that one, but at least the idea that seemed to be a good way to kind of keep them managed where they're not up running around because you got to be in the kitchen. So load everything on there, take it in there when possible. Just use the cart, have all the condiments on there, I think is what they were talking about. So I wasn't as involved in that conversation, but what I understood of it, I thought that was a good idea, that we would do it in that way. Trying to think of other stuff we talk about as far as the management within the wings, because there's some material that we're going to be going over here a little bit that we talked about as far as crisis management and some other issues that we'll be talking about. So I'm pausing this as kind of things are going on during the day here. So I'm going to pause this here for just a second, and then I'm going to jump back on here, and we're going to give some more material out and some more information. And so we'll be back in just a second.